Niels.
Hi, Jessica.
So today we're going to discuss feedback. Could you tell us a little bit more about why feedback is so important for teams?
So once you're in a culture transformation or merger, or you're doing culture maintenance work, culture development in general, I think it's important that at all the levels of the organization, all the parts of the system continue to develop. So on organizational development, obviously there's things happening around, for instance, the values that you have defined and activated. On individual level, people are personally transforming as well. Then there's the more systemic levels, or you're working on processes. But what's often left behind is the team level. And they are a connector between that organizational level on the one hand, but also the individual or personal level and the systemic level. What often happens though in organizations is that teams do get feedback, but it's often in their own silo, or it's compared to other teams that are doing the same thing, but in a different location or a different branch. What is much stronger, at least in my experience, is that you can also facilitate giving feedback to this team from other teams in the organization. So, for instance, your HR, you don't only want to have information in your HR operations, you don't want to get feedback from a talent and acquisition or retention or all from in the HR domain. You also want to get feedback from compliance or from operations. Now, how do you do that? And that's, I think, an important level to continue to touch to make sure that, yeah, culture is being transformed or merged as we want to achieve.
So why should they do the feedback relatively instead of using absolute scores?
Yeah, I think to avoid, let's say, penalties or competition. So I think what you see a lot in organizations, especially if they're large and they don't have, or they're the incumbent, let's say, so they're the largest, they have the authority in the market. There's a lot of navel gazing going on, so it's or tribal wars, I used to call them. So people focus on the internal politics and they start comparing one team to the other, and it's not helpful if you want people and teams to develop, right? Because if you use an absolute metric, teams will look around and look, okay, we're doing fine on, let's say, client centricity or innovation or collaboration or any of the other values that you have. And actually, we're doing much better than the other teams. So even though they build that annual plan and there's development topics there, intrinsically, they're not really motivated to improve a lot, or they don't get that push because they feel, well, we're on top of the pile anyway. To make it relative, and let me explain what I mean by relative, it helps them to focus on something that is their strength and something that they can therefore use to inspire other teams to work on that same level, and something to develop, or what is their weakness, let's say, so that they can develop that and know what to focus on. So what is important when you're giving feedback also to an individual, but let's focus on the teams, is that they know, okay, this is something that we're really good at. This is something that we can develop based on what everyone else is thinking of us. Now, there's two ways of doing that still. You can have that feedback completely open. So you can ask other teams, what do you think of this HR operations team or this compliance team or this legal team or this finance team? You can also do that along the lines of the values. So ask them, okay, well, how is this team doing in terms of innovation and collaboration? But not just all the values, just give them one compliment and one suggestion or one tip. So if these are the 5 values, what is the stronghold of this team? What is their strength? And what is something that they need to develop? And give reasoning for both as well. So for instance, this finance team, and I'm looking at it from my HR team, they're great at innovation because their reporting is done with the newest AI tools, et cetera, et cetera. I like it. I can click through them. It helps me, right? In terms of collaboration, last time someone was ill there, I couldn't reach my contact person. No one else was there. It didn't feel helpful to me. So collaboration, maybe they need to do something there. Giving this feedback back to them in a relative way, so maybe other people have said something around innovation and collaboration as well, will make it much clearer to the team where they need to develop. Now, it could still be that on the level of collaboration, if you had done it absolutely, so with absolute scores, they would score really, really, really high on collaboration. Therefore, would not have the motivation to work on that. And that's why it's important to do that relatively. Now,
Okay.
you might still wonder then, how do you collect this feedback, right?
Yeah.
I saw that you wanted to ask that. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm
No
answering my own
worries.
questions. What I typically do is go into the organization, especially if it's all bundled, let's say in one office. You can do this online as well. But I take a whiteboard, a mobile version, so one that is you can drag around, or a flip chart like the one that I have here, right? And there's templates on there then for finance, or if there's more HR teams that you want to do this for, more finance teams, you have them all separate. It has 2 columns, complement and tip. And if it's closed, you have the values there at the top and you need to tick them and then give your reasoning. And we just walk around with them and we ask people to give feedback. And it has to be balanced. So they have to give 1 compliment on one side and 1 tip on the other side of each of those templates.
Okay, that's totally clear. Well, thank you so much, Niels, for telling us more about the importance of giving feedback to each other.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.